Good day. Welcome to Lecture 8, Session 8. Uh, this is a tough one. It's called Clergy Sexual Abuse. The interesting thing is that our authors chose to make this a singular chapter in the book. It's the only single issue that gets a whole chapter in the whole book. And one wonders why. I don't know. I can't put myself into their mind, but this is my best guess. This has become a defining issue for ministerial leaders of all Christian denominations and perhaps all religious groups. It is the issue that has, in a singular way, damaged and destroyed trust that folks might have for ministerial leaders and for the churches that they serve. I recently saw a movie called Spotlight. I recommend it. The simple fact of the matter is that movie demonstrates the difficulty that we in the church community have in dealing with the questions and issues of clergy sexual misconduct. Truth of the matter is, we never dealt with it really until we were required to. In 1991, the Colorado Episcopal Diocese was charged with covering up the misconduct of a priest. The plaintiff was awarded $1.2 million. Suddenly, the insurance companies demanded policies on misconduct. The insurance companies demanded training to prevent sexual abuse. The insurance companies drove the issue, not the church. Not the church. Our problem is we want to believe the best about people. We want to believe that folks are redeemable. And we frankly are slow to understand the kind of damage, the kind of hurt, the kind of harm that is inherent in this issue of clergy sexual misconduct. So what is it? Dr. Rutter describes it as any sexual contact that occurs within the framework of a professional relationship of trust. Any sexual contact that occurs within the framework of a professional relationship of trust. What are its symptoms? It's a violation of trust. Folks expect better of that from their pastors, and it happens within an environment of enforced silence. Don't tell. What's the scope? I don't have recent information, but here's some information from our text. In 1984, 12% of clergy had engaged in sexual intercourse with congregants. 12% intercourse. In 1988, Leadership Magazine conducted a survey. 18% of clergy people had engaged in sexually inappropriate behavior. That's not the same as intercourse. It's another study. So what does it look like? According to Lord Lloyd Rediger, he refers to 6 specific instances: sexual intercourse outside of marriage, oral sex, unwanted or inappropriate physical touch, physical or sensual displays of the body, pornography, verbal or visual contact that implies or demands an inappropriate sexual response. Well, those are the definitions. The feeling is, if you have a sense that something sexual is happening, it probably is. Our authors refer to three types of abusive ministers. One is the predator. This is the charismatic person who goes from partner to partner to partner. There are the wanderers. These are the folk who are primarily faithful at home, who slip off the edge, have an affair. And then there are the lovers. This is the person who just falls in love. Each has his own issues or her own issues. But the reality is, in every case, the impact is destructive. Churches are hurt. People's lives are damaged, sometimes destroyed. When it becomes public, what happens? The church loses its trust in its pastor. The church sometimes tries to conceal the issue. Sometimes the church blames the victim or the pastor's spouse, if she had really met his needs. There is an overwhelming sense of spiritual incest. The church experiences the pastor as a father figure, and now more and more as a mother figure. And mom or dad went off the reservation. Congregations are paralyzed. And in my experience, perhaps the most damaging thing of all, congregations learn to handle things secretly. Things are not dealt with in public in positive ways. The minister? Well, he loses trust. Frequently, there's a loss of vocation. His colleagues don't trust him anymore. Her colleagues don't trust her anymore. Legal issues. What happens to the perpetuator's family? To the spouse, to the children? They're put up for public display, public ridicule, public embarrassment. And to the other partner, the abused woman and her family, the psychological wounds, relationships are torn, the family is embarrassed. The danger, the damage is awful, and more often than not, they lose their church family. I wish I could speak like we used to speak of drug abuse and just say to you, just say no. In fact, I'll say that. Don't. But the reality is, those things happen when we lose our sense of personal awareness, when our insecurities take over, when our need to be loved drowns out our sense of self-value, when we deal with stresses of every sort, struggles at home, and unresolved sexual identity or sexual frustration. All of those contribute. The only issue, it seems to me, is this. How do you build a support system for yourself, including a healthy marriage, relationships with colleagues, good personal counselors, personal safeguards, a code of ethics? How do you build into your personal practice the safeguards that'll keep you from going over the edge? Because trust me, if you're a living, breathing human being, the day will come when the opportunity and the temptation will present itself, and you will have to make a decision. See you next time.